if you haven't seen it already, this tiering list was completed by Faz and Saeed on Saeed TV, where they put into categories, not all, because there are some missing on there, which we will go into, the fan channel community. And everybody's seen it, everybody's reacted to it. And I thought Mark and I should discuss it today. What are your personal thoughts on that tiering list, Mark?
I mean, one thing I will say, it's always going to be subjective, and I respect that. So straight away, look, some people like a cup of tea, someone like a coffee, someone like a pint of Fanta. I absolutely understand that. So I can't sit here and go, why are they down there and they're up there? I personally would do it very different, and maybe that's a video we should do. But I would do it very differently. I think the attitude era is coming towards an end in football content. I lived it. I was part of it. You know, we had that game. I mean, remember DT versus Goldbridge? That seems like, I mean, they just can't happen in 2025. But that was the biggest thing.
I did the commentary on that. It was great. It was great.
That clip would be more iconic now if the last couple of years hadn't gone the way it was. But look, you know, things change, and that's a lesson to anybody in life, is that, you know, things change very, very quickly. But I sit at it now, and look, we're doing content. I do a regular video with Lars. I do a regular video with Robbie. 2 years ago, these things wouldn't have been happening. Yeah. And I think the football influencer world is something I'm really proud of. And we've been in it for 10 years. I did a show in Dublin last year, 10 years. And you did get a couple of Terry shout-outs, actually. I said, there is a United Stand show tonight. And people were going, Terry. So there you go. But yeah, I think that, you know, there's been the aggression era. It is like wrestling. You know, if anyone's a wrestling fan, you go through eras of like wrestling. And I think we've sort of been through the whole attitude era where everyone's getting at each other. And I've even been sent a couple of clips from people that don't like me, who were going, why the United Stand not on there? Why is Goldbridge not on there? I mean, I don't like the guy, but come on. If we're talking about the fan content space, they've got to be there. You can't ignore that. In which case, I think it loses its credibility then, doesn't it? Because there's also Full-Time Devils, or whatever they're called now. You know, they've been around for a long time. Yeah. Was Red Men on there? I don't know.
No, red. Yeah, the fact that Red Men,
True Geordie,
and Stretford Paddock, True Geordie, no, all three were admitted. They've got to be there.
That's incredible. Red Men's the oldest ever fan content channel, and they're still doing it. True Geordie changed the world in relation to, I think I was probably one of the original watch-alongs, but they changed the concept of watch-alongs into making it a studio thing. Full-Time Devils were there at the bloody start as well. And I don't have the best relationship with these people I'm mentioning, but I think we're moving into a new era where I'm very proud of this space, and I respect anybody who's making content. I don't care if they don't like me. They probably never met me anyway. But I respect everybody who makes content. Anybody who's building a community can hold a community at any level. Whatever I think about them personally, or whatever they've said about me personally, I respect it. So if I was going to do it, I would look at it and I'd be respectful. I wouldn't go, this person said this about me, content's rubbish, anyone who watches it is a moron. I'd go, do a bit of research. All right, they're pulling in 1,000 live viewers every time they do it. I know what it takes to do that. I was saying last week, I remember how excited we were when we had 100 live viewers 10 years ago, and that took a few weeks to get that. So I know the grind. I know the sacrifices. I know the impact. I know how tired it is. I know how passionate you've got to be. You can't fake it. So yeah, look, at the end of the day, I just think, you know, there are maybe a little bit of bitterness, maybe a little bit of bias in there. And the reality is, if you're on that list, put everybody on the list, because, you know, everybody is obviously doing something right to be building the communities that they are. And it's a little bit tiring listening to the lies and the, you know, the sort of backbiting and everything like that, when ultimately we're talking about football. And I've enjoyed the last few months doing stuff with yourself and Robbie and Lars and stuff that I hadn't done for a while, having conversations like this, because the real competition is what we were just talking about at the start. Some producer that you never see about, who goes, let's do Ronaldo against Van Dijk, and, you know, and let's get people to talk about it, and let's take the piss out of people. Yeah. Let's just make them angry and argue about something that actually has got no basis. And the mainstream are the people we should be going for. And these sort of argument things, I think they were relevant 7-8 years ago. It did happen. I don't look back on that DT incident with any pride. You know, I look back on different things with pride, and I just think it devalues what we do, because if you in any walk of life, if you're gonna I mean, look, people getting awards and stuff, and then I saw someone get an award last night in this space. Well done to them for getting an award, by the way. But it's sponsored by TalkSport, and they don't put in United Stand, Football Terrace, you know, Side TV, whatever. They don't put any of those in. They just pick who they want to go, and that's why awards are a load of bollocks. And I'm not in any way taken away. Well done. I mean, the people who won it, I could see they were really happy, and fair play to them. And I know a couple of those people, but
the awards thing's crazy. I'd say why the awards thing's crazy, because I've done stuff with the Football Content Awards, and
well, I won't do it. We've had that chat. Yeah. And I know the person who runs it, and I won't do it because I'm like, I think it values.
I worked alongside sort of the owners of it. I was partnered with them for a number of years, and they wanted me to be a judge. And I talk about it more freely now, because not because I was under any there was no kind of agreement where I couldn't speak about it, but I'm just someone that, again, I don't always succeed in this because I'm a human being, but I was working with people and I'm trying to be respectful. But I'll give you an example with the Big Six. The Big Six is a fantastic podcast. It truly is. What they've achieved, the content they make, it's engaging, it's fun to watch, and I get why people love it. And for 2 or 3 years, they were up for best podcast. And as a judge for it, I just remember saying in the kind of judge meetings and in the feedbacks of all the other judges, I know that there's an element of subjectivity because you're voting for what you think is the best. So, but you've got to drop the subjectivity and you've got to look at the cold, hard facts. You've got to look at the cold, hard facts here. Some of the people that beat them to the gold award get a fraction of the views, which I think plays a big part. If you get views and they're consistent views, and I don't know what their analytics say, but I guarantee their 2-hour shows, they're getting 50 to 60% watch rate of the entire show being watched. I said, you look at the social influence and the clips that go out and the people that inspire to do it and the reaction that it gets. They go to locations and film. They've done a sort of show that's a little bit like Stephen Crowder, where they go somewhere and it's almost like a Arsenal were the best team in London, changed my mind type thing. Stephen Crowder, I think, was a sort of a political commentator that did shows like that. I've seen clips on socials, and hundreds of people turn up. And I remember saying to the judges, it doesn't matter whether you personally like it or not. You've got to be objective in your approach here. And I think that
it's subjective.
There's so much subjectivity that goes on. I just want to say very quickly, because I've had a lot of people reach out to me about this and say, Terry, you were put into me.
Terry, can I just add one thing about that?
Hey, go on, mate. Yeah, go on, mate. Go on. Sorry.
Just on that, because we'll move on. The Big Six thing that you say there, what I find that gets completely swept under the carpet with this, and I'll use AFTV as an example. You could use United Stand, you could use True Geordie, you could use Redmen, is that are these organizations not the reason everyone else is making content? And the honest answer is yes. Whether it's a watch along, pretty much started by myself, whether it's the StreamYard type shows, which you sort of started, whether it's AFTV with the fan cams, or it's Redmen who've just started doing fan content. Like, they are they are content providers that have provided the platform for everybody else. To disrespect them, I think, is really sad, because you might not like them, but they'd open the door for it. And it's like what we're talking about with Ronaldo and Salah today. And I think that, you talk about someone like the Big Six, if they don't get an award, but someone who's doing something similar with less views gets the award, you might prefer that thing, but surely they deserve the award because they're bigger. People like it more. There's nothing wrong with that. You've got to be objective. And I think that's why I don't like awards. And that's why I don't like stuff like this, because you're leaving. I couldn't give a shit. I mean, obviously they don't like me. That's absolutely fine. I'm not interested. I'm not going to do any of those conversations. I would say to them, fair play. You're making your own content. Respect. It's really hard. Good luck. All the best. Genuinely. I don't care what they think about me. But you can't leave True Geordie out of it.
No, you got that, and that's the bit for me. I think some of the pioneers of this industry were left out. United People.
Redmen aren't there either. Yeah,
Redmen are not there. United People TV. Now, not one of the
full-time Devils, as I said. Yeah,
full-time Devils and Stretford Paddock. United People's TV. I know Sam Peoples. I used to go to Man United games with him years ago.
Yeah, another one. Yeah,
the guy, amazing website that he has related to Man United. His channel it's sort of in its own lane. Like there's people that have been missed out that I would personally put onto that. Some of the pioneers of the industry, I agree with.
In fairness, though, the people who are doing this might have just been doing this as international content filler.
Yeah,
it probably needs doing properly by somebody who goes, these are definitively the top 100 fan content
Yeah,
providers.
maybe. And I'm not saying I'm not,
and do it properly.
Yeah. And they might not have left. Listen, we don't know, and I'm not even going to cast aspersions here. I'm not saying they left anybody out. Maybe you were left out deliberately.
I don't know,
sure,
but
I'm not sure about everybody else, to be fair. But yeah, look, I think it's about being objective. And look, there are people on this list that I watch their content and I like them. There are people on this list that I know despise me, and that's fine. And Hussam said something last night. Someone sent me the clip, and again, I want to say thank you to Hussam. And I agree with Hussam wholeheartedly, but I want to give him his flowers for what he said. I think if you do a tiering list like this, you should drop your personal opinion of an individual or stories you may have heard. Because again, people will say, "Oh, Terry, I don't like Terry because he did this," or "I don't like Rance because he said that. I don't like Babs because he had this opinion once. I don't like LB because he left this channel. I don't like Hussam because he wears this. I don't like Rio because he played for Man United." For me, that's as best you can. That's got to be stricken when it comes to rating where people go, and you should rate it on what you think of their channel. Now, what I would say about me being in Mir, because a lot of people have reached out, is this.
It's really bothered him. That's what it is.
Yeah, I've been crying for 2 days. But I've reached out. Look, it's in my members group chat. The voice note is still in there. And a few people in my live chat said, "Are you going to respond, Terry, for the lies they told?" First of all, I don't think Saeed or Faz, as far as I listened to it, lied. They gave a personal opinion about what they think of my platform and channel. And they're absolutely entitled to do it. I have no ill feeling towards either of them. As an example, they're entitled to the opinion. There were some things they said that were a criticism that I looked at and went, "I'm so glad they've noticed. I see that as a positive." For instance, I think Saeed said something along the line, and I'm paraphrasing, "It's not really a news channel. It's not really about Terry. It's not quite a fan channel. It's like a mixture of all three." And I was like, yes, that's been since day one, has been the approach that I went for. So I'm glad that Saeed sees it that way. He doesn't have to like it. And I'd be a hypocrite to be, "Oh, you've got to like it though. You've got to say it's good." No one has to like what I do. No other content creator has to like it. We have our subscribers. We grow the way we do. We get our views. I look at this international break. The numbers that we've had through the international break, I've been so chuffed with, because there's been very little to talk about, and we've got a really great base. And I love what I do. So I will just say this to people: you're not going to create a beef. You're not going to create me slagging off Saeed or Faz or Rance or the Big Six or Lee Gunner or, I don't know, Deluded Guna, who I get on very well with. I'm not going to do that. It's personal preference. And for me,
there's different types. Sorry, mate, go on.
I just want to say, like, for me, it's all personal preference. I've got no issue with it whatsoever, and people will enjoy what they enjoy. There'll be some people that love watching Saeed and they can't stand watching what I do. There'll be others that love watching Culture Cam and they think Sam's content is horrible. Some will watch Nordin and think he's amazing, and I think the Big Six is boring. That's it. And people have got to get on with it. What my message back to other content creators is: do not get drawn in to any kind of fake nonsense beef, the attitude era, as you mentioned, like wrestling, because some viewers want that. And I think some people have reached out to me in hope that he's going to slag off Saeed. No, even if Saeed said something I thought was a lie or was disrespectful, I would still just say, "That's your opinion, fair enough." I'm just not interested in I think it's damaging to the industry at this stage to start fights and personally, I don't have a problem with what he said, but even if I did, I'm not about that. I think the fan channel community needs to come together as best we can, because we do have an enemy, and it's the mainstream media that are trying to kill off what we're doing. And we need to pull more together and be more of a community, whether we like each other personally or not. So for me, fair play to them. They're entitled to that opinion. It's not bothered me whatsoever. I love what I do. I love the direction the Football Terrace and these podcasts are going in. I've now recently, I don't know if you're aware of this, Mark, I now do shows on the biggest football platforms in the world called the United Stand, and that's football. Yeah. So I'm very happy with what I'm doing and what I've achieved. There's going to be no beef. There's going to be no arguments from me. And it's as simple as that from my perspective.
Well, the interesting thing is I haven't watched this video because I don't really watch anything else. I obviously briefed me on it, and I've seen a couple of clips that have been sent to me to prepare for this show. So I don't really, have any massive issue with it. But what I would say is that there's also different content types. I mean, I have an idea of some content and I think, who's actually watching this? And then someone will say, "Oh, 1,000 people watching it or 2,000 people watching it." I'll go, fair play. There are people in the world that want that type of content. I'm not doing it. And that's the great thing. Everybody's really different, aren't they? But I think the other thing is that sometimes I think it gets a little bit lost. You know, you've got a community, you probably make, let's be honest, they're all making money. You know, they can pretend it. I'd sit here and say, we're all making a living. That's what we're all doing. So let's not pretend that, you know, oh, the United stands the enemy because it's all corporate. It's not corporate at all. It makes money. You know, it's definitely doing that. But they're all making money as well. They're all taking the super chats.
You know, my favorite thing is, sorry to interject, is it's if you don't like something, just be honest why you don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like Mark because I don't like the jokes he tells, or I don't like the way his personality isn't something I like, because I hear a lot of weird stuff. Like, I see people criticize you because they got a fake name. Right. And I'm like, but you work with other content creators that have stage names. You have some people that don't like me that go, because you put your emotions on a thumbnail like this. I'm like, that's fair. But then they stream with and they're friends with people that do the same thing. And that's the only time it gets a little bit jarring, is when the rationale you give for not liking someone is you accept it from friends of yours that also do it. I just feel like if you're going to give the opinion that you don't like someone, just give the honest reason as to why, as opposed to kind of I had someone once say, I don't really, he was a guy on Spaces, and I said, do you want to come on the terrace? He went, not really. Why? He goes, it's got a problem with how you make content. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you'll put people's opinions out there no matter what they say, and then they might get abuse. I said, yeah, because they asked for the content to go out, so I post it. But what if they get abuse? Well, I've had a number of people part of Terry, can you take this down? Some because they haven't liked the backlash it's given. Some it's because they've got a new job and they don't want the content out there anymore. Like, we recently deleted a lot of old content, and a lot of it was because friends of mine that have now gone on to have very good careers outside of this, like, Terry, do you mind taking that down? I don't want my bosses to see it because I was swearing, or, you know, just, you know, I don't want it on the internet anymore. And I'll respect people in that way. But the irony about this person that called it out is that he now works with a fan channel who do fan cams, whose fan cams get abused by people online every single week, right? Because the opinions are there. Now, by the way, that channel, they're not doing anything wrong. I just find it ironic that you didn't like the Terrace because it put fan opinion out there, but now you're working for a channel that puts fan opinion out there. And we had a conversation about it, and he basically just said, yeah, I realized what I thought was wrong. And he basically said, it's because I didn't like you very much, and I've grown to actually think you're not a bad guy. And that was like a really nice moment for me, because I can handle people not liking me because I don't need everybody's approval. But it's when you hear the excuses, you think, well, hang on a minute, you don't like me because of my thumbnails, but you like these 5 guys that have, some of them have very similar thumbnails because we use the same thumbnail designer. Oh, it doesn't make any sense. So I just think people need to be honest about it, or just maybe stay in your own lane and say nothing, maybe.
I've done it for 10 years, and I've always given people advice, and whether people like it or not, I've gone from nothing to 2 million subscribers, massive amounts of views, etc. Whatever. And the point is, you learn a lot. And one thing I would say is, you don't dismantle your opposition by spreading lies about them, hating on them, ignoring them. Some people seem to think it would be a strange behavior to monitor your rivals and what they're doing well, like you're obsessed by them. 10 years I've been doing this. When I started off, AFTV, True Geordie, used to watch their content, see what they were doing, learn from it. Always had my own voice. Look, as I said, I think the most important thing is to say is that I haven't got an issue with anybody having any issue with the United Stand or anything like that. We're all in the same industry, and everybody who's making content with the community deserves respect. It's hard work, and fair play to them, and good luck to them, because it's very difficult and you have to make a lot of sacrifices. But obsessing about others is not going to do you any good. And I'm not going to say I haven't done it in the past a long time ago, but it's a tough industry. And I think some people maybe look at other content and go, oh, you know, they're shit, this, that, and the other. But you're disrespecting the communities that those people have built. And I might not understand those communities. I might not understand why people like that type of content. But if people are watching it, it serves a purpose, doesn't it? And ultimately, I suppose that's all I would say about it. But what I'd also say as well is, if you've got beef or whatever it is with other content providers, surely the aim would be to build towards doing content with them so that you can expose them because you're a better content creator. But that doesn't seem to be the end game either. It seems to be, I don't like that content creator, so I'll say bad things about them, but I'd never do anything with them. I don't, no. Yeah. And I'm sort of like, are we not in an entertainment space anyway, you know?
Yeah, well, you and I fell out, and over. I look back at it now, and it was petty things, really. And we've had these conversations privately and everything else. And I look back at it, and my biggest regret in the early stages of this thing is that someone would have an opinion I didn't like about football, or say something about my opinion, and I would react in a very bad way. So I'm also not saying these things from a position of, well, I'd never do that. I'm speaking about it from somebody that's made mistakes, that did things wrong. I also, people have done things to me and said things about me that they've later sort of apologized for, as an example. And often it's sometimes you don't understand someone's humor. So I fell out of a lot of people in the early stages, because do you remember a show I launched? And it was a horrible name now, but I think it was called Football's Question Time. You came on it. And the idea was, it was the first time there was ever, and this is the irony of evolution, it was the first show, I think, in this space where there was going to be fans from different channels on it.
Yeah,
and we were going to be talking about rival clubs. And that was always what I wanted to do. And I always remember the brilliant late Claude. He was such a lovely and honest man. He went, I can't come on that show, Terry. I went, oh, how come? He said, my knowledge on other people's clubs is so bad, I'm just not going to pretend. And I was tagging loads of other content creators, and my hashtag was, do you have the bollocks? Do you have the balls to come on? I didn't mean that in a horrible way. It was just me being me. And if I'd have been in front of them and they'd heard me say it, they would have seen that it was jovial. But I get when they're tweeting people, it can be seen as, who's this dickhead? And I've learned from those things as best I can. And I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but I do think as an industry, I think there are a lot of misconceptions. I think people will think a lot of things about you that are not true based on somebody else's poor interpretation, as an example. There's also jealousy that comes in. And the irony in it is this: there are people that are used to dislike me, have admitted, oh, it's because I saw you doing well. Now that they're doing well, we've reconnected because they've gone, I then started having people speak about you, how I used to talk about you. I get it now. I understand. And I think there's an evolution in this space as well that you kind of go through. And I think I'll end this little segment by just saying this: you don't have to like everybody. You don't have to prop everybody's content up, but just be mindful that there are a group of people out there that are trying to stop what we're doing indirectly, but they're trying to stop it by flooding the space with money, flooding it with celebrity, flooding it with massive production teams. And that is the mainstream media. And I'm not saying don't work with them, and I'm not saying ignore them, because you can use it to boost yourself. But as a fan channel community, the most important thing we can do is try to create as much unity as possible. Have your arguments, have your fallouts over footballing opinions, but make content, make it big, make it grow. Get 100,000 views, get 200,000 views. Well done to you, rather than separating your audiences by fighting each other and shrinking what we do, because divided we will fall to the mainstream media in that space is my personal belief. So there we go. And I want to say, Mark, sorry, oh my God, sorry.
Just one thing I was going to say as well. I think some people do get quite agitated about whether they did it first. Like, oh, we did this first, we did that first. And at the end of the day, I'd leave you with this on that, is that, when you lose your virginity and then you find somebody who's, better, and then the person you lost virginity on the door knocks on the door and goes, yeah, well, you might be good, but I was first. I'm there going, yeah, but she's way better than you. Like, you might have been first, but you're not better. And it's like, but people are like, oh, it was my idea first. It was my idea first. In life, just because the first guy that figured out crocodile eat you, he got ate. The next mate, guy didn't.
I so agree. No, I so agree. I always think, who was the first person that jumped off something really big and tall and hit the floor? Someone did it first. And everyone went, oh, that's a bad idea. I do agree. You see a lot of that. Sort of, I mean, even fan cams, Redman and AFTV, Stretford Paddock, then they were the first three to do it. But again, it wasn't even, this is not a dig. They were the first fan-led people to do it. But Vox Pops had existed for decades. I think I was one of the first, if not the first, channel to start talking about multiple clubs at the same time, the top 6 teams, at the same time. And we've evolved on that, and other people have started to do it. There has definitely been shows that people have done, and I've gone, we started a show a few years ago called The 12th Man, which was like a preview show. And I tell you where I got the idea from, was watching The Gloves Are Off in boxing, where you get Trevor Nelson in the middle, the boxers either side, in a dark room, and they speak. And I thought that'd be a good show. We stopped doing it just because I had timing issues. Kids, we couldn't do it because we don't have the production value to have more people come in and help produce the shows. So I can't be there for everything. But we all borrow ideas and see things that other people have done. And I think that we have to stop. If someone steals your title of your show, the colors, the graphics, the thumbnail. Fair enough, have a conversation with them. But there isn't anything that is by and large completely and utterly original. It might be new to the football fan content space, but I bet you can find that a game show or Soccer AM or someone has done something similar before. And I just think people have got to drop the arrogance and the entitlement that, well, that's my thing. Again, if you think you've invented it and you invented it from scratch, get it patented, get it trademarked and copyright, and get it and charge people for it as an example. Go and do that. But
look at the mainstream now. Like, a lot of their content is looking at what we're doing on YouTube and taking it into the mainstream. I mean, like I saw the other day, Talk Shit have actually started their own Man United YouTube channel. So
yeah.
You know, and they'll probably do an Arsenal one next.
Talk Sport like, done the same, haven't they? They've got their own dedicated.
Yeah, and it's like, well,
teams.
They're only doing that because they're looking at the success of AFTV and United Stand and everything else. So, you know, I think that's the thing I would lay off is like, you know, you look at that list on my left, and I don't know how a lot of them are. Some of them are it's very interesting. They've gone and done their own thing, having started off on things like United Stand, AFTV, whatever, which is great. But how many of those people will actually end up being, you know, what I call bitches to the mainstream? You know, I would say keep doing what you're doing, building your own community.
Build your own.
That's the only way you'll win. But some of them start going, oh yeah, I will go on Sky, I will go on this, that, and the other. And it's like, yeah, we're going full circle again, then, aren't we? They're winning again because they're back in control.
I agree. And look, a lot of people on that list I know very well. A lot of them go on my shows. A lot of them have worked with many of them. And he even helped start. I always tell this story with pride that when you first started Soccerbox, we used to post your videos and then direct people to go and watch them. I remember the first 2 or 3 that you did when you were Soccerbox TV. We would post it. All of our content was crap at the beginning, but I remember we'd post it and then like leave a comment and say, go check out this channel. And that's the one thing I'm proud of with the Football Terrace is we've done that regularly. The amount of people that have either phoned in, or some have reached out directly, some have phoned into shows, others we've found on Twitter, we've found online. Some of them now are working in brilliant jobs in the industry. And it was off the back of phoning in to a call-in show of mine. And look, I'm not going to even mention who these people are because it's not about that. It's just about saying that is what the fan channel community should be. They know who they are. You know, I get a Christmas card or a drink every year from them and always get nice messages. And I think we need to do more of that as a community because I think everybody will benefit. And it's like
you know, you go back to the award show thing there. I mean, I don't really value them anyway for many reasons, but if they were going to do an award show, they should put people like me and Robbie on a fucking panel. Me, Robbie, and, you know, Chris Pajak from the bloody Red Men, who've been in from the start, who I know personally wouldn't be biased, who would probably take everyone from there and be actually quite fair and go, well, let's have a look at the growth, let's have a look at the views, let's have a look at everything there. Even then, people would go, oh, that's not fair, because, you know, it's like the Oscars. But yeah, I just think, you know,
I hear you.
There's a lot of people making a lot of good content who are working really, really hard, and that's I respect that.
Same, mate. Same. The viewers, love to get your opinions on this in the comment sections below. Hit the like and the share button as well. Always a pleasure to sit and speak football, and it's good having a fan content conversation as well, because I think it's an important thing.
You can tell it's the international break.
Yeah, I can't wait for the football to be back, to be fair. Listen, everyone, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.